Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome to the Movie Newbie. My name's Jabriel Sahimi, and I am the newbie.
Oliver Mangum, writer, producer, fellow film lover, occasionally capable of insight.
Raphael Lucas, thespian, cinephile, and human golden retriever.
So yeah, enjoy the show.
So, well, let's look at maybe... We've talked about this so many times, and I'm sure Raph would love to put his input, but like we've talked about like superhero movies and I guess people being tired of them.
Yes, superhero fatigue.
Superhero fatigue. But then again, like you just mentioned, Guardians of the Galaxy came out like 2 months ago, and people have been saying it's like one of the best superhero films they've seen since Endgame, right? And then you have this other movie, The Flash, and I think with the way that like Batman versus Superman and like that whole universe went, and the way that they dealt with maybe Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot. Yeah, like getting rid of them even though they were fan favorites. Maybe the way they dealt with what was it? Warner Brothers dealing with Amber Heard after the Johnny Depp thing. I think people kind of just don't want to listen, like they don't want to have anything to do with DC anymore, especially with the Flash. What's their name?
Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller.
Yeah, with the shit going on with Ezra Miller, like why are they even making the movie, even though like they've been such a...
Well, they've been like mired in scandal. By the way, are we recording now?
Yeah, we are recording.
Okay. Okay, so we've started then. Okay, cool. I like that. That was slick. I think there's a number of reasons as to why The Flash failed. I think The Flash was never really like a tentpole action like superhero figure. It's not like Spider-Man, for example, or Superman or Batman.
Yeah.
And I think another reason, in addition to, Ezra Miller is a really controversial figure at the moment. Like this film was delayed for a while because of that, I think. But also because you mentioned James Gunn. James Gunn has taken over DC. Yeah. And he announced like this new plan for what the next 5 years of DC movies are going to look like. And he's basically scrapping a lot of what came before. Yeah. And The Flash was shot before he came on board. So I feel like people know going into this movie that none of it's going to matter. Yeah. That they're basically going to wipe the slate clean.
Yeah, I guess so.
And it's like, you can't really invest in that if you know there's probably not going to be a sequel to The Flash, or you're going to see Bruce Wayne again.
From what I understood, it's that they tried to use this as the flashpoint for the new...
Right, it's because the multiverse. And
Like if anybody knows about the Flash, like there's a thing in the Flash, like the cartoon or like the comics called the Flashpoint.
Yes.
Where alternate things happen.
And that was meant to like maybe reset this
universe. Yeah, but it's tough because even I saw like things like what was it, Black Lightning? No,
was that
Black Adam?
Black Adam, yes.
Black Adam.
But the Flash made less money than Black Adam, which is bonkers,
which is crazy. And then there's this new one called Blue Beetle that's coming out.
Yeah, and like that,
and that does not look good.
Warner Brothers must be like shitting themselves because even like if the Flash made less than $200 million worldwide.
They brought back like OG Batman for this as well.
I know. And they're like, Blue Beetle is like one of our D-list characters. They're like, they must be preparing themselves for an absolute shitstorm this summer. Like this is going to be a big financial loss for them.
For sure. I also just totally forgot. We did, I didn't introduce the yo, what's up thing.
No.
Yeah. But
no, it's all right. But I like that you just kind of did that interviewer thing where you asked me what we were going to talk about. I didn't even realize we were going to we were recording this was going to be part of the episode. Well, and then you just dropped it on me halfway through.
Yeah. I tried to do something a little bit different because we're doing something a little bit chill.
We can say hi now if we want.
Let's say hi. So, hey, welcome to the show, guys. This is the Movie Newbie if you didn't know about it. This is one of our little mid-season episodes. So it's just Ollie and I. Raph is not here, because he couldn't be bothered, apparently.
He's what we call a coward. We gave him the chance to come to East London to record on a Monday evening. And he was like, no, I'd rather go on living my life. And so it's just the two of us. And we are currently holding auditions for a third member to replace him. So I hope Raph's happy with, getting his extra couple of hours of sleep.
Well, that was Ollie.
Hi, I'm Oliver.
But yeah, so we kicked this off with this whole DC, with this Warner Brothers DC thing. It's Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah, it's Warner Brothers who own DC, but DC Universe is the studio that James Gunn is currently overseeing.
So now, do you think like all this kind of, okay, so there's maybe it didn't have much of an effect on the movies that came out already, but there's the whole issue with the writer's strike. There is, I think a bunch of acquisitions happening with Warner Brothers, HBO.
Yes.
I think Viacom is trying to buy.
I think Viacom used to be, okay, that's where I mean, this is going into deep into the weeds for me. Like, I don't know how Viacom features into it. I believe Viacom merged with Warner Brothers years ago, but then Discovery just merged with Viacom. Sorry, with Warner Brothers. And that's why a guy named David Zaslav, who oversaw Discovery before, is now in charge of Warner Brothers, which owns HBO and HBO Max. And he's causing all sorts of nightmares. Like, he was the person that was responsible for like canceling the Batgirl film, or like shelving it even after it had already been filmed, basically. And he's been doing this. He's been taking a lot of projects off the streamers and off the slates, so that they can never see the light of day, potentially, because you can make money that way. You can do like a tax write-off, basically. And because he was looking at the figures and he said Warner Brothers as a company is losing a lot of money at the moment, or is in big trouble. So we need to take extreme, cost-cutting measures.
Okay. So do you think this kind of like puts an ill taste in people's mouths as like to go and watch these movies, or do you think it's just fatigue from superheroes? I think it's just like this going to the cinema at large?
Yeah, I think we alluded to it at the beginning. There are a number of reasons to believe that people still do want to go to the cinema. So I mentioned earlier that Super Mario Brothers has done phenomenally well. It crossed over 1 billion worldwide, which is insane. Guardians of the Galaxy did very well recently. There have been a few horror movies that have done very well recently. I believe Little Mermaid is still making, has brought in good box office numbers. So people do want to go to the cinema, but it's very difficult to sort of turn that tide and get large audiences to come in. I think superhero fatigue is definitely a real thing. I think you're seeing it with Marvel movies. I also think, multiverse storytelling is already starting to exhaust some people, and I think is not sustainable in the long run. So we've had for the last few years, the big theme in comic book movies, and you probably are very familiar with this because you read comic books, is the idea of like multiverse storytelling, where you have multiple universes. And so you have different characters from different franchises, or like different iterations of the franchise sort of crossing over, and then people who you thought were dead are coming back to life, and like and it's kind of cool and exciting when we first saw it, like in Into the Spider-Verse or No Way Home, but it also means it can give you the sense like nothing really matters. And I feel like the trick has lost a bit of its sheen. So I think that's part of the reason why The Flash hasn't done so well. Okay, it's one of the reasons anyway. I will see, like, I haven't seen The Flash, so I can't really neither have I.
And I haven't seen Spider-Verse, but you have.
Yes, I have. I saw that at the cinema recently.
And did you enjoy it?
I loved that, yeah. So I went to see, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse. And I saw that in empty cinema by myself, and I loved it. I thought it was breathtaking. I thought it was definitely perhaps one of the most beautiful animated films I've ever seen. Not just because of the original style that you saw in Into the Spider-Verse, but because it's jumping between different universes. Each universe has its own style of animation. And it's just, it boggles the mind to think about how many people must have worked on this. And how intricate the design is. So from that aspect, I really loved it. I thought the storytelling was really fantastic and emotional too. A bit long for me personally, like it was like 2.5 hours. And I feel like a lot of movies I've seen recently, I felt are longer than they need to be.
I think it's like the whole overcorrection from like COVID. I don't know. It's like loads of these movies have been like, it could have ended here. And then it goes for another hour.
Right. Exactly. I'm not opposed to a long movie. Like I love like, a lot of my favorite movies are really long, but I'm like, at a certain point, like these are popcorn movies, right? Like these are meant to be crowd pleasers. So I feel like get out early, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't test people's patience.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably respect that more than anybody.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't like an overly long movie, but I think like 2 hours, like 120 minutes is
great.
Is perfect.
Yeah.
A little bit more, a little bit less, I'm fine. But then like a movie that's too short, I'm also like craving for more. And if it's too long and I'm just like, this is, just overindulgent.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Yeah. So, sorry, you're going to say something.
I was just going to say that I used to say that if a movie's over 2 hours long, it has to justify that. It has to have a good reason for that. Mm-hmm. And I still believe that today. Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to just touch upon your point of like, superhero fatigue. I think, or at least, I don't think it's superhero fatigue. I think just people are kind of bored of this whole, I think people are bored of the hero's journey at the moment, because it's not just superhero movies. It's just in general, the whole hero's journey is such a huge, like, storytelling device and something that people love so much that it's literally everywhere we look. So, I think the most in your face way of telling that story is through the superhero thing.
Sure.
But what I wanted to say about like theater, like going to the cinema, I think nowadays the consumer likes to be, informed on the journey of like the artist or the creator. So, one of my favorite books is called Show Your Work. And it's by this author called Austin Kleon. And what he said in the book is that gone are the days that basically artists like sit in a room and work on their piece and then show it to the world. And they're like, here is my masterpiece. Yeah. Nowadays, you want to actually go through the journey with the artist, see the behind the scenes and see how it's been made. And I feel like the marketing schemes, or at least the marketing, for the movies that were successful. So let's say Guardians of the Galaxy, like, maybe it could be my algorithm and this is what I'm seeing, or even Super Mario. Like, I saw the checkpoints in the development of the movie within like social media and within what I was aware of. While The Flash, let's say the checkpoints throughout that film were, I guess, a lot more negative in terms of Ezra Miller.
Yes. It was usually about like production halts or directors leaving the project or recasting.
Exactly. Yeah. So that made me kind of like, ooh, I don't want to watch that. And then I literally noticed it in the last like 3 weeks, all the actors, they could tell that the movie was going to come out soon. So then all this like positive news on like working with Ezra Miller was actually okay. And
and they had like, I think, James Gunn said that Tom Cruise said it was the best superhero film he'd ever seen.
Yeah. So, it kind of made me not want to watch the movie. And then, like you said about this Pixar film, like if people who listen to this podcast know how much I love Pixar. Yeah. And I didn't even know this film existed.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I didn't even realize it was coming out. And it's not that like, I don't know, maybe it's a kid's movie and like, that's not what I'm being shown on my algorithm.
That's not coming up on your YouTube front page.
But it still doesn't make sense that I didn't know anything about this movie coming out.
Yeah, I know. And especially when you, like, I was looking up the box office receipts for that movie Elemental, which is not doing well, and how much it cost to make. And it cost nearly, like, I think over $200 million to make. And like Pixar movies are not cheap, I think, because the quality of animation is so good. Yeah. They're not cheap to produce. But you think if it's a movie that's cost $200 million, you think there'd be more of a marketing push behind it. Because I had no idea what was coming out. I didn't see any billboards or bus ads for it. I didn't see ads coming up on YouTube or on television.
Well, do you think it's tough because there's shit like Transformers coming out? Like Transformers came out as well, which for some reason I want to watch.
Is that because like it makes you nostalgic for a simpler time? Even though we all acknowledge those films are kind of crap.
Yeah, and like I love, like, growing up, Transformers was one of my favorites, and like this whole like animal stuff, like the beasts, like Transformer beasts.
Oh my god,
they were like one of my favorite cartoons as a kid. Because growing up in Saudi, we used to get all the old cartoons. Like we didn't have current cartoons because it was like cheap TV, right? So they would buy the licenses to the cartoons that were 10 years old, from the 80s. Yeah. So I grew up watching like Transformers, G.I. Joe,
Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The X-Men. Is it the Amazing X-Men?
Yeah, I think I watched that as well.
Yeah, like the OG X-Men.
Yeah,
cartoon.
for sure.
So things like that. So I just really want to watch it.
Yeah. Have you seen all the other Transformers movies?
I haven't seen. I saw 1 and 2, the Shia LaBeouf ones. I can't remember 3. Was 3 Shia LaBeouf or was that Mark Wahlberg?
I think the first 3 were with Shia LaBeouf. That was the Shia LaBeouf trilogy, so to speak.
Yeah, well...
And then Mark Wahlberg came in for like the 4th one, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember the 3rd Transformers film.
I don't think I even watched. That was the one, Dark Side of the Moon.
Is that Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah, well, I don't even know why I know this because I've never seen it, but I'm pretty sure it opens with the moon landing. And there's an idea that like JFK was aware of a secret Transformers technology facility being built on the moon. Right.
Which
makes sense, I guess.
Was that? Okay, yeah. I think I've watched them. I'm pretty sure. But I haven't seen the Mark Wahlberg one. And now there's a new one coming out. And I think it's like a Latinx character.
Yeah, it's Anthony Ramos. He's from, he's a great actor. He's from
He's not the Blue Beetle
Hamilton.
kid, right?
No, he's not. He's not.
Okay. Because that Blue Beetle kid is the one
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai, yeah.
Which I watched that show. That's a great show.
Cobra Kai's a great show.
Yeah, it's a great show.
It is a great show.
Cobra Kai never die.
Yeah. Well, see, that's a good way of like using nostalgia and creating a new kind of story.
Yeah, totally.
I love that. It's a great example of it.
Yeah.
While there are other, there's a lot of others.
Well, because Cobra Kai had a completely different tone to the original Karate Kid films. And I think that justifies its existence. If you're bringing something back, like at least try something fresh with it, right?
And it's all because of a joke from How I Met Your Mother.
Really?
Yeah. So in How I Met Your Mother, Bart. So you've watched it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
of course.
Barney's favorite character is what's his name?
What's the name of the actor? But he plays the villain in the movies. The Cobra. He plays he's part of Cobra Kai in
1 and 2.
Yeah. What's the name of that actor? Blonde guy. Yeah.
What the heck? I'm gonna search it right now.
Yeah. Because I've seen like 3 seasons of that show. I should know.
Billy Zabka.
Billy Zabka. Yeah.
Billy Zabka. Yeah.
That's it.
So Barney's favorite character. So. Because Barney was weird and it was hard with your mother. He grew up thinking that Billy Zabka's character was the protagonist.
Yeah.
And he basically watched the movie from his perspective.
Yes.
And then they brought basically Billy Zabka and Ralph Macchio to the show.
Yeah. I remember.
I think it was someone's like bachelor party or something.
It was like Barney's wedding, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was Barney's bachelor party. Yeah. And that's how the concept for the show for Cobra Kai.
The creators of Cobra Kai, do you think they saw How I Met Your Mother and were like, that's a good idea right there?
Well, I think because he starred in it.
Yeah.
He was like,
people were like, this guy's still alive.
Yeah, they're both still alive and they're both doing random shit. I don't think they've ever done much. Well,
I mean, Ralph Macchio had a bit of a career, I think.
Yeah, he had a bit of like a kid's career. Like he did that blues Crossroads. Is it Crossroads? No. He was like a blues guitarist, and it was kind of a play on the idea of like selling your soul to the devil to become like a really good guitarist.
Like that's the myth, the urban legend about that famous Robert Johnson or something. It's like a very famous blues guitarist who died, I think, quite young. But the rumor was that he sold his soul to the devil to become like the best blues musician in the world or something.
Yeah, because he was like a shit guitarist, and then he disappeared for 5 years, and he came back being like, and nobody thought that in 5 years you could learn an instrument.
Inconceivable.
Yeah. But I mean, like, what? There's a Ghost Rider as well. Is it Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
Wait, Nick Cage?
Yeah.
It's also a Marvel movie.
Yeah. But that was before like MCU was its own.
See, that would be a character I'd love to come back. Nicolas Cage in Ghost Rider.
Dude, but those movies were shit. Have you ever read the comics? The comics were awesome.
The comics were awesome.
But I
loved the first movie.
Really?
Yeah. Because it was just like, I was, I think, 10. And you're
yeah,
like, oh yeah, it's a dude like a flaming skull.
Well, I don't want to say that if you revisited it, you wouldn't enjoy it, but
I mean, I have, and I enjoyed it in the nostalgic sense, kind of like Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah,
you know,
that is a great film though. Tyrese is brilliant in that movie. Come on,
Tyrese is. Tyrese is a shining light, I think, in the Fast and Furious.
He is.
Films.
Absolutely. Because he brings the comedy that you need in those.
Exactly.
I mean, I haven't watched one of those films in years, but
that's another.
If I recall,
that I want to get into again.
You want to get into the Fast and Furious?
Well, because I haven't seen the franchise since Paul Walker passed away. Like since
that would have been a good place to end the series.
Oh
anyway,
yeah, for sure. But now I'm like curious because I was listening to How Did This Get Made?
Yeah,
they did like to lead up for Fast X. They did a excuse me, sorry, I'm burping because I'm having a beer. They did the lead up to Fast X. They did this thing where they uploaded their live shows that they did about like the previous Fast movies.
Yeah.
And it was just so funny. It was just so funny how much they made fun of these movies that I'm like, I need to watch these movies to get the jokes that this podcast is making.
Oh yeah. Like I would definitely, I would be convinced to go back and watch those films if I could watch it with like, a DVD commentary by the guys from How Did This Get Made?
I think that would be like,
or like a watch along.
The GOAT collaboration to do with this podcast. I think that would be my favorite people to do it with.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like if we were to ever do a collab, the people who did How Did This Get Made, I think would be great.
Oh, totally.
So who would you have?
Who would be my dream guest for the podcast?
Not dream guest, but like dream collab or
so it would be other podcasters?
Other podcasts, yeah.
That's a really good question. I mean, initially my mind is going towards other film podcasts that I listen to a lot.
Well, I feel like makes sense.
Yeah, but I feel like that's kind of boring. I feel like it'd be more interesting if you got someone who is a podcaster who's not known for talking about films whatsoever. Like, I don't know, like boring answer, but like Louis Theroux. I'd love to come in and chat about movies with Louis Theroux.
Yeah, Louis Theroux would be interesting. And I think he has I think he just signed an exclusive deal with Spotify.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, for Louis Theroux.
Spotify, man. Sorry, we love you, Spotify. Thanks for hosting our podcast.
Well, Spotify have been firing a shit ton of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No shit, because all right, we're veering into a number of different topics here. I don't even know how we got onto this.
It's a mid-season shit show.
This is a free flow. There is no structure to this. This is what happens when Raf is. But Spotify, they've invested like millions and millions and millions and millions. I think close to over $1 billion in podcasting in the last few years because they've wanted to become the preeminent content creator or publisher for podcasting. And
this is in the last 4 years.
Yeah, so they've thrown these massive fees or acquisition fees at like very famous podcasts like Joe Rogan, for example. But then they've also put a lot of money into like and they've had nearly all of the original programming has not all of it, but a lot of it has failed to lift off. Yeah. And the podcasts that are doing the most or doing the best numbers on their platform are podcasts that were famous before they came to Spotify. Yeah. Like Rogan's podcast, like the Ringer stuff.
Rogan, the Ringer.
Like Santino, I'm sure, all those guys.
Well, those aren't exclusive to Spotify, but they had
Dak Shepard's podcast.
Is that exclusive to Spotify?
It is now, yeah.
Okay. So I think the ones that were originals was the Obamas, and they've left.
Yes.
They had Meghan Markle.
Yes.
That one failed.
Archetypes. Yeah. They've left after like one season, I think.
The Obamas?
No, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were paid $20 million.
Yeah, but that was
a podcasting deal, and they left after 12 episodes.
Nobody was listening to it.
Yeah,
the statistics were not that great for that episode, for that show. But pretty much my journey, like me personally, my journey in podcasting was when Spotify basically started up this whole podcasting thing in 2019, and it happened with the acquisition of Gimlet and another company, which I can't remember right now. Excuse me, another burp. But Gimlet have a podcast called Startup.
Yes.
And that podcast is a podcast about them starting up their podcast company. It's a very meta.
Right.
It's very meta. Yeah. So, and I listened to that on Spotify, and that's really what drove me to to start podcasting and to become a producer and stuff. It was one of my favorite podcasts because I love business, I love entrepreneurship, and I love creating things. And I thought it was just great. And I really connected with the founder of Gimlet and his journey into like creating the name for the company. And then to find out 4 years later, which is a month ago, that the entire company's been axed except for like 2%.
Yes.
And that's not just Gimlet. It's also, is it Podbean or like Podchaser or, I can't remember what it is, but Gimlet and that company were reduced to 2% of their staff.
That's insane.
And it's turned into Spotify Studios. So yeah, like we used to be on Transistor, which is also owned by Spotify. And I think they recently bought back their company.
Right.
Or something like that. Although we've moved from Transistor because it wasn't the greatest platform for us.
We're now on Acast.
We're on Acast now.
Acast, which is also producing or has I guess like bought the rights to a lot of podcasts. Like WTF with Mark Maron, which is one of my favorite podcasts, is now sponsored by Acast.
But I'm not sure if
there's no exclusive or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're like exclusive in-house things.
Yeah.
Would you have Mark Maron?
I would love Mark Maron. I don't know if he would put up with my bullshit. I feel like he'd be really tired of us very quickly.
That's true. I think stand-ups, like we've had one stand-up comedian, right? On the most depressing movie. We did,
Ali Woods came. Ali Woods, who shout out, has got, a special on YouTube.
Yeah. Shout out Ali Woods with his special. I need to watch that actually.
Me too. Although okay, my excuse, there's no way Ali is listening, so he won't be offended by this, but my excuse for not, watching his special is because I've actually seen it performed, at Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Oh shit.
And I've seen him perform in several different places in London as well. So I'm fairly certain that I've seen pretty much all of the special in some form or another.
Nice.
But people should, it's great. I can tell you it's fantastic.
Well,
should check it out.
Ali's stuff recently has been hilarious. Like he's been making it big on Instagram.
He's
like
huge.
I saw his stuff being reposted by a few of the meme accounts
the meme queens.
The meme accounts that I've been watching. So, shout out to Ali.
Oh no, I've met people from different continents and they're like, which comedians do you like? And they just mention, oh, I really like this guy, Ali Woods. I found his stuff on Instagram and they live in like Australia or in America or in Singapore. And I went to university with that guy.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's fucking crazy.
But wait, who would you like to have to collaborate with apart from How Did This Get Made guys?
How Did This Get Made guys? For the movie newbie, I feel like I want more fun and like, jokes. So I'd like to have them.
More banter.
Or I would like to have the people from, what's it called? So you can't believe it's a fish. The QI show.
I know the one you're talking about. But it's like the podcast offshoot of QI.
It's the writers from QI.
Oh yeah.
They have a podcast where they basically talk about a random fact. And I love their like nerdy banter, and I feel like it would fit in with the movie newbie.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Cause if like I invited like one of my favorite stand-ups, we just like make fun of the movie the entire time.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
There wouldn't be any like substance to it.
Yeah, I think we could definitely do with a little bit more of that energy on our podcast sometimes. That's why I feel like we really need, I mean, this is kind of delving into the territory of how did this get made, but I do think we should at some point in the near future do a theme on terrible movies or movies that are so bad they're good. And just rip into it.
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, we should
the best worst movies.
Absolutely. We should do a theme where each one of us picks a best worst movies. So we get 3 movies still.
I still Monkey Bones for me.
Is that the one with Brendan Fraser?
Yeah, with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if it's bad, but I don't know if it's good. It's just weird.
Yeah. I'd probably do like Camp Rock or something like that.
Camp Rock. Is that the one where they're like coming down a hill and they're like,
Camp Rock. Camp Rock. And there's so many great memes from that movie. Like there's this bit where this like girl does like this one of the students, she's like putting on the most random electronic robot noise and going like,
oh yeah, yeah.
And everyone's like, this is really good. And then you cut to like some kids be like, they got like the token black kid be like, yeah, this rocks.
This rocks. I can break this.
Yeah, it's terrible. And you've got like the Jonas Brothers as well.
That reminds me of like, do you remember growing up in like the 2000s, I guess, they had a movie for every sport. Like there was always like a rags to riches, like, ooh, she's a girl, but she's not like a hot girl. She wants to play basketball.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
then she plays,
exactly.
Then she learns basketball.
And like all the guys, there's like a male coach who won't let her play on the team. Yeah.
That's all I want to do, Dad.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but you're my daughter. You got to wear a dress.
Yeah. That was like the template for about 100 movies in the 90s.
And then they did the exact same thing, but instead of a human, it would be a dog, like a golden retriever.
Oh yeah, like Air Buds.
Yeah.
But how many sports did Air Bud play? There was like a basketball one. There was like a football one. There was a beach volleyball one.
Yeah. Fuck. I was going to transition with speaking of other dead dogs.
Yeah, sometimes you ever realize that all the Air Bud dogs are dead now.
Yeah. And the dog from Red Dead passed away recently. What? The actor dog that played the dog in Red Dead Redemption.
No, wait, that was a real dog?
Yeah, it's like a famous actor, German Shepherd dog.
Oh, that makes me sad, man.
Yeah.
God damn.
Don't forget to pet the dog.
Oh, man. Yeah, I love... Just thinking about that game the second game makes me cry. Thinking about what happened to Arthur.
I think everyone cries in that game.
Yeah. Is the horse from Red Dead Redemption real?
Oh, I have no idea. Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe. But, yeah. What have you been watching?
What have I been watching? Yeah, good segue. Well, I watched, Across the Spider-Verse. That was really good. In terms of movies, I don't know if we talked about this on the last podcast, but I watched, a film called Close recently. It's a Belgian film.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, it was on Mubi. It's and it kind of garnered a lot of attention because I think it's done quite well internationally at the box office, but also the premise, there's a really upsetting twist in the movie. So it's known to be quite a tearjerker. I won't give anything away, but the film is basically a study of these two young boys who are sort of on the edge of pubescence or puberty. Mm-hmm. They're prepubescent. They're like 11, 12 years old. They live in a rural town in Belgium and they're extraordinarily close. Mm-hmm. Like they just have, a really close friendship. They sleep in the same bed as one another. They spend every day together. And then the movie basically starts at the end of the summer when they start going to school, to middle school, I guess, or secondary school. And people around them, other kids, start noticing how close they are.
Yeah.
And start wondering if they are, a couple or sexually attracted to one another. And that kind of rips apart their friendship. The idea that suddenly they have to think about this other dimension.
Right.
And I won't talk too much about I won't give away where the story goes, but it's one of those films where it's almost impossible to watch it without crying. Okay. Like it's almost like designed in a lab by a scientist to make you cry or to make tears fall out of your eyes. So I found it to be kind of manipulative in a way. And I felt like some aspects of it were forced, but I did cry. I did find it very emotional. And the two young boys that play the two male leads are just extraordinary. There's like this, I think we've spoken about this on this podcast before, but there's this idea that, younger actors, children in particular, if sort of worked with in the right way, can produce better performances or more authentic performances than even the most classically trained adult actor, because they can tap into something that's sort of unself-aware. And that's what I felt watching this movie. So I think for that reason alone, it's worth watching, although it's very distressing, I have to say.
Were there any similarities to that movie that we watched? What's the one, that French movie with the two boys?
Oh, 400 Blows?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say a little bit, although they're not as naughty as the kids in that movie. But yeah, absolutely. I think so, because you're watching in a sort of innocence and youth being destroyed in front of your own eyes.
100%.
So it's very powerful in that sense anyway. And I think the idea of studying like kind of intimacy between children, which is a very uncomfortable subject for a lot of people because I think people worry that it will broach into something that's inappropriate or you're sexualizing children. But I think it's really interesting from a psychological standpoint. So, I'd be curious to hear what you think.
It sounds like a movie that I'd watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What's it called again?
Close, I think is the English title. I don't know what the Belgian title is.
I've heard of this movie.
Yeah, you may have seen the poster on the tube at some point.
Or like a trailer for it.
Yeah. But
because the premise sounds very familiar.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if you'd have seen it before. But so I'm just trying to bring up my my Letterboxd list to see what else I've watched recently. I haven't watched a lot of movies. I've been traveling a bit more recently. And I've I did watch. I think you might enjoy this. I watched White Men Can't Jump.
The second one?
No, the original.
Oh, okay.
Not the remake. No.
Well, I watched the remake recently.
I started it because I enjoyed White Men Can't Jump, the original, so much. I really enjoyed it. I was like, this is really fun. And I tried to watch I was watching on Disney Plus, and they were like, oh, why don't you check out the remake with fucking Jack Harlow? Yeah. And I watched about 15 minutes. So I was like, I'm out. I'm like, you're not Woody Harrelson.
I remember I tried to watch it, and then.
Have you seen the original though?
I have seen the original. And
do you like the original?
I do like the original. Yeah. It's Wesley Snipes and.
Yeah. Great combo. Great duo.
I think the second one is great for the audience that they're trying to target.
Which is like contemporary. I would say Gen Z or millennials?
Younger than Gen Z. Like, what is it? Would it be Gen A again?
I didn't even know there was something younger than... I thought Gen Z was like TikTok generation.
Yeah, so Gen Z, I think, is anything after 1995. And then 2005 onwards is the new kids. So like kids who are in high school right now, in middle school.
They're not Gen Z.
They're not considered Gen Z.
Damn.
Yeah, Gen Z are the new kids on the block.
Are they like Gen Y or something then?
Fuck knows. No, Gen Y is.
Because it was Gen X and then Gen Z, then
millennials are Gen Y, I think.
Oh, are we? Okay.
I have no idea. To be fair, I don't know.
All right, fine. Okay, but you're saying teenagers, like, young
kids
people
right now who are between 16 and maybe like people who are in university who are 22. Because Jack Harlow is like the hottest guy on the block right now like he's funny. He plays basketball pretty well.
He's a good act. He's actually, I don't like his music, actor. But I saw him in Dave. Have you watched season 3 of Dave? Yeah, I've seen him in Dave.
I haven't seen I haven't seen him in Dave.
Oh, okay. So, not to cut you up, but he shows up in there's some insane celebrity cameos in the latest season of Dave.
Season 3, right?
Yeah. I won't spoil it, but Jack Harlow shows up in an episode set in the Met Gala.
Right.
And he actually plays like the villain, basically. Right. Who's like, the more famous, popular version of Dave.
Yeah, because he loves to play on the white rapper. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought he was actually very funny, even though I've always thought Jack Harlow seemed really annoying. Oh. But I've never listened to his music, really.
See, I'm also not really a fan of his music, but I think on YouTube a few years ago, there was, they have like a celebrity basketball thing, and Jack Harlow and this guy called Drewski, he was this, basically his like partner in crime, comedian kind of guy. And they were hilarious because they were, I guess, the kind of like commentators for this celebrity basketball thing. And Jack Harlow made me laugh so much. So I was like, you know what? I can see a career in acting here.
Yeah.
So I was curious and I was like, let me see. And I put it on and then I basically finished the movie.
Was it decent? Like, was it any good?
I mean, it's an easy watch if you're like hungover, you have nothing else to do. Like
Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Like it was honestly a funny movie. Okay. Very, predictable. Like if you have like a young cousin or nephew or niece or whatever, I'd watch it with them. But nothing like the original.
Well, what I liked about the original was like the street hustling aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like that's the premise of the original, which came out in like the early 90s. Fun fact, it was apparently one of Stanley Kubrick's favorite films.
Oh, really? Random.
Yeah.
That's so random.
But it's like they're street hustlers. They play ball for money on the streets and they hustle other people.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of, that grift. And you have Rosie Perez, who's really awesome. And then there's just that isn't in the remake, is it? It's like,
well, they're
playing like in a competition, right?
Well, there is a competition aspect of it, but it starts off with them trying to hustle each other.
Right.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, he's a white guy. He can't play. And then he gets hustled. And it's like, oh, it's basically the black guy is like how do I say it? A failed
pro, like he got an injury.
He could have, he got an injury, basically, kind of thing. Your typical
sure
story. Pause. I'm just gonna get another beer.
No worries.
Go to the bathroom?
No, I'm good actually.
As you can hear, I have returned with my beer. So you watched the original White Man
Can't Jump. Yeah, and I've been watching. There's been quite a bit of good television recently.
Did you finish Silo?
No, I haven't even started Silo. Is that any good? Is that what you've been watching?
I'm gonna start it.
Okay.
Because I just realized that Lorna is still logged on to my TV with Apple TV, and I didn't know that she was. So, so I've been going through Ted Lasso season 3.
It's we finished
too
it,
much
but
of it,
dude, there's like an episode that was like an hour and 15 minutes. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, like why?
Like, I hate the fact that they've made all the children in the show the adults. You know, like, they're the voice of reason.
I hate precocious kids as, like, a character type as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, I get it, like, a little bit, but come on, guys. And then it's just way too comical now.
I know.
It's like almost making fun of itself with how, like, weird it is. And like,
yeah, absolutely. And I just
it's not enjoyable anymore.
And I don't like how childish all of the football players in the team act. Like now they all want to, like, I don't know, sew or something, or like learn dances rather than act like football players. And I know that's kind of the cute joke, but I feel like they've just taken it to the extreme.
Exactly. Like, they
all act like Ted Lasso now.
Well, not just that. It's like, remember when Marco Rojas came into this show, in the first season.
Yes.
Where he's like, football is life.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I was like, that's cool.
Because he's like an outlier, because the rest of them are just like moody assholes, basically.
Yeah, they seemed like footballers.
Yeah.
But in season 3, literally, they all have their own catchphrase, and like, they're all kind of like a caricature. And I was like, it's just not funny anymore. It's such a shame, because I love these characters, but it just kind of doesn't work for me anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'm watching it just to get through it rather than because I'm enjoying it. And I'm like, oh, next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watched it with Nuring and my girlfriend, and it's kind of a show that we started watching together early on in our relationship. So it was nice to sort of see it out to the end. Mm-hmm. And she's a really big fan of it. I have been a big fan of it, but, yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it kind of lost the plotting a little bit. I think it lost sight of what people enjoyed so much about the first season, which is not just the hopeful message and the adorable qualities of it, but also the fact that it was just tight storytelling. It was a workplace comedy as well. It was focused mainly around how to train this team. Yeah. And now every character has their own side plots. Yeah. We're like watching one character set up their own PR agency. We're watching, and it was like, no one cares. Like, just give us a half-hour comedy. Yeah. With some good, messages at the end. Yeah. And some jokes about football,
I feel like there are loads of forced, there's loads of forced political commentary and like, social, like, I don't know what the word would be. Like,
but every episode was like, we're going to take on this really big issue in football or in the world,
Yeah, so like...
There's like an episode about LGBT, like homophobia in football, or there's an episode about the Super League and stuff. And like, a lot of that stuff's really important, but they just feel like they can
homophobia in football, and then homophobia in the workplace. Well, not the workplace, but like, the Keely,
her relationship with
her boss.
Which is like totally inappropriate. I was like, why would you be rooting for a relationship with someone who's funding your, like, company. I feel like that power dynamic's really problematic.
It was really strange. And it's not, she looks like Daisy Ridley. Or is it? It is.
No, it isn't. Right? Yeah. No, I don't think it is.
It's the Star Wars. Yeah, it looks like the Star Wars girl.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's just a lot with season 3 that I'm not happy with.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're going to finish it though.
Yeah, I'm going to eventually finish it. And then I'm going to start Silo.
Yeah.
But I haven't really seen anything new recently. Although I am going to go see that Wes Anderson film tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, you're going to see it tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm seeing it tomorrow at Genesis.
I love Genesis. Good cinema.
What's the movie called?
Asteroid City.
Asteroid City. And I know it's got some good reviews. So
yeah, I'm, and I know you're a big, Wes Anderson fan, as am I.
I'm a big, symmetry fan. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So actually it's really good that you bring that up, because I did have a question. Are you aware of the accidentally Wes Anderson theme on TikTok?
I have a huge problem with this.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you might. So why don't you tell me what your thoughts are?
Just because it's symmetrical and it has like a certain filter does not make it Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson is a very, very specific thing.
Yes.
And people just think if you put a little bit of jazz and your filter is a little bit orange.
Or like some pastel colors.
Pastel colors, and there's like a little bit of symmetry.
Yeah.
And you're just standing still while someone does a menial task. It does not make you fucking Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Yeah,
Please
no,
stop.
I agree. And I think it's, and it's like, it was probably like a funny joke initially.
I mean, the first few that I saw were cool.
Yeah.
And then.
Right. And I just think it's kind of, it's reducing a lot of I think it's taking what Wes Anderson probably really doesn't like about his reception to his films, which is people often think his movies are just defined by that dollhouse aesthetic or the symmetrical aesthetic. And yes, he likes that, obviously, but it's so much more handcrafted. And 2, there's so much more to his aesthetic beyond that and his style. And I think just because you're centered in the middle of the frame doesn't mean you're like a Wes Anderson.
Yeah. Like one shot that they did not do is that I think it's a very Wes Anderson frame, or maybe I'm mistaking it with someone else, but it is like I'm mistaking it with, what's his name? Spike Lee.
Mm.
Well, there's a shot of basically like a person in frame and then walking with.
So Spike Lee has that tracking shot where they put them on like on wheels.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're moving, but you can't see them walking. Basically, yeah. Like it's sort of they're sort of like floating almost.
Yeah. Okay, I'm mixing it up. But anyways, I hate this trend.
Yeah,
I really hate the trend. What I do like is the trend of like AI changing like. Where they're like Harry Potter, but it's Balenciaga.
Oh, yeah.
And they use AI to change what the characters would look like in the movie.
And they've done that for Wes Anderson. They've done like the cast of Succession. If you were in a Wes Anderson film.
They did Harry Potter as well. Or Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool. I thought those were like really cool ways of reimagining a film. Yeah. But I was going to say, because this actually just reminded me, because you watched Into the Spider-Verse? No.
It's called Across the Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Terrible SEO, these sequels.
Yeah, terrible.
It's impossible to distinguish them.
But because I went to Wales recently and I stayed in a cabin in the woods.
Oh.
How much do you think that movie influenced like the Spider-Verse thing? Because it's like... You know how there's all these Spider-Mans and everything.
The movie Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Because
you know the ending of that movie.
Yeah.
They had to like individually design like 200 monsters or something.
Oh, I haven't seen that film since it came out.
Yeah,
it's great. Really,
it's shit. Like it's not shit.
No, but it's clever.
It's good. It's clever. It's like weird. Like I like the universe that they built. Like if this movie was made today, 100,000%, it's going to be turned into like a franchise.
Yeah,
because they'll spin it off and they'll be like, ooh, rah, rah.
Yeah.
But I really liked the premise. Good idea, not really well executed.
Oh, I remember liking it, but so you're saying did that influence the Spider-Verse films? Maybe. I don't know. It's Phil Lord and Chris Miller who made the Spider-Verse films, and they're insanely talented. They're the writer-directors behind 21 Jump Street. They did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They did they've done a lot of TV shows like Clone High. Right. They're really, really cool, talented, interesting creators. So yeah, I'm not sure. I wonder if there's any comic books that have taken that idea of taking different Spider-Mans from different superheroes different iterations or different artists' renderings of those superheroes and brought them together in the same universe.
Well, yeah, I guess that's like what made that franchise so interesting in comparison to like the Marvel franchise.
Yeah.
Which I still think is the only one that does it well. I think they're all failure. I think we've spoken about this on a previous episode, but other than the Marvel universe, there is no other franchise or universe that have been successful in doing it.
In doing the multiverse thing or doing just like shared universe?
Both.
Yeah.
Multiverse. So this is, I think you might have alluded to it just now, if you don't mind me moving on from this. But I'm currently doing a course in transmedia storytelling. So it's kind of like the next level above multimedia storytelling, where things are now more connected than ever. And it's because of the consumer, of the fact that that's how they're sold on an idea. Now, I'm only in week 2 of the course, and it's an 8-week course. So this is only 2 weeks of knowledge.
Yeah.
But basically, nowadays, when you're trying to pitch an idea, or at least you could maybe explain this to me a little bit more, but people don't just want stories. So let's say in the back in the day, you pitch a story, and that story will be like, hey, cool, you can make that into a movie, or we can turn that into a TV show. Then after that, you can be like, okay, no, I actually want to pitch a character, because these characters can then be placed into any movie, any book, any whatever. And then after that, it's like, let's take it away from that and pitch certain things. And then you get to the point where you're actually pitching a universe where it's like, no matter what happens in no matter what timeline of that universe, it still works. So this is kind of something that you can see in maybe, Star Wars would be the best example of it, because in the movie universe, it's doing very poorly, but within books, video games, and graphic novels, the Star Wars universe is actually very successful
at the moment. Like it's on an upward trend
at the moment. Yeah. So like that's where people are, let's say, getting a positive experience rather than the last trilogy or what was the last movie that came out?
Was it Return of Skywalker or The Rise of Skywalker? Was that
the last film?
I think so.
I think they put a halt.
They've done a couple of TV shows, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because some of the TV shows have sucked, except
was it Andor?
Andor was pretty good.
That's what I've heard. I've not seen any of them.
Andor's pretty good.
They're saying it's better to pitch a universe than to pitch a single character or story.
Not that it's better, but it's more how do you say, immersive. Right. So like, for example, one of the examples that they talked about was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Season 7 ended on Netflix, and season 8 started in a comic book. And that's like the power of transmedia storytelling, right. How you can continue stories in different forms and take it on from there. And I think it was kind of a concept that was really cool in like the early to mid ages of the internet.
Yes, like Clerks, they had like an animated sequel. I remember at some point. Yeah.
But I mean, even the lead, I remember watching a documentary on the making of Mission Impossible, and to the lead up of Mission Impossible 2. Now, Mission Impossible 2 is a funny movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting, like I remember him, climbing up, like rock climbing.
Yeah.
And his Oakley glasses, the mission and stuff. And the lead up to that movie, I think they dropped a trailer on like a fake search engine that they created that turned into like a mission. And it was like, Ethan Hunt, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's using transmedia storytelling to immerse the consumer in a way, which I find super interesting. So that's why I'm studying.
So how did you find yourself signing up to this course?
I wanted to do a journalism course. And then I was like, you know what, let's just see what's in media. And I remember one of the people that got me back into podcasting was this girl called Nina.
Yeah.
I met her in Argentina, and she's from Australia. And I think she was going to this university. And she was studying media and podcasting at the time.
Yeah.
So when I was going through the online courses, I was like, oh, wait, this is, I think, the university that they all went to. Saw transmedia storytelling. And I was like, I think this would be very beneficial to what I do.
Yeah.
I just started doing the course, and it's been really interesting so far.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, so I've just got to say to our listeners, one of the many things that I admire about Jabriel is that he's always learning and always educating himself. Like he's like, as long as I've known him, you've always been, in addition to doing your university degree, you were always like taking courses online or like looking at, other degrees that you can get, but mainly just to acquire skills, but also just sort of develop your own knowledge. And I feel like you're self-taught. So you're someone, we all know that anyone who knows Jabriel knows that he's got like a toolkit and he's got a lot of different special skills, but nearly all of that stuff is like self-taught. At least you were motivated yourself to sort of learn that on your own or on the side or as a gig.
I always think of,
you're like a Swiss Army knife.
I always think of that scene from The Other Guys where Mark Wahlberg is like, or Will Ferrell turns to Mark Wahlberg. I can't remember their character names. He's like, "How did you learn how to dance like that?" He was like, "Yeah, well, there was a little pansy in my neighborhood who used to ballet dance, and we all learned how to do it and make fun of it." And I feel like a lot of that, like growing up, that was kind of my thing. Was either learning something to make fun of someone or learning something. Yeah, just like, you know, when you're all boys, right? And you're like, "Oh, dude, that's so lame." And then you're like, "Oh, what? Do you do it like this?" And then you start getting good at it. And then you're like I remember shuffling.
Oh, learning how to shuffle.
Learning how to shuffle. I was like, "Oh, learning how to shuffle is lame." And I'm like, "Oh, what is it? People just do it like this all the time." And then I was like, "Oh, I can actually do it." You got
really into it.
Yeah. And then I was like, I could do it. So then I just started doing it. And then it was either that or like, if girls liked it, I was like, I'm going to have to learn how to do that. But then that's why I learned how to play guitar. I think at 7, I made the conscious decision that I was like, ooh, girls like Blink-182 and Green Day and blah, blah, blah. I was like, I want to play be a guitarist. Yeah. And I guess what stuck was the fact that I was like learning new things.
And you enjoyed that aspect of it and
And I hate being like, oh, I wish I knew how to do that. Yeah. Because you can learn how to do that.
Well, like, you're a big advocate for what you can, for all the resources that you can get online to learn something. Like I remember when I was trying to learn how to edit, you were like, dude, just YouTube it. Yeah. And I was like, and I felt like you're right. We have access that people in previous generations did not. So why not take advantage of that?
Yeah. I mean, I like to putting it into simple terms. I'm like, if you want to, I think I've said this to Raph and Raph was like, fuck you, man. But I was like, if you want to act, just act. And I mean, like, it's not such a simple thing, but it's like, if you want to learn how to do something, then just do it and then figure out how to make it easier. So, you know, like, if you want to play guitar, just pick up a guitar, play it. And then at some stage, you're going to understand that this is going to be difficult and this is how you overcome that obstacle. Sure. Like, just doing the thing itself is such a huge thing.
Yeah. And like by practicing, you eventually learn where your limitations are and how to bypass them. But then that's how what you're describing right now is kind of
very simple.
Is the different, you're never going to become like a classical pianist that way.
No.
But not everyone needs to be able to play, Rachmaninoff, you know?
Yeah. Like
a lot of jazz pianists from back in the day didn't go to a concert hall to learn or to,
there's a book. I can't remember what it's called, but every jazz artist is supposed to know like a certain book. Fuck, I can't remember.
The American Songbook?
No. It's jazz artists, like, if they're listening, they will know. Yeah. But it's a book, and in the book, there's a bunch of famous jazz songs, and then you can basically play that song in any key. So they can be like, so you go to a band. So like, if you play the bass, right? Yeah. And you go to, we're on this, we're in Terminal, right? You know, the movie Terminal?
Oh, the Tom Hanks film. Yeah.
He loves jazz, right? So he goes to, the jazz club and they're like, hey, why don't you want to play with us? And then usually in the jazz club, they'll be like, ooh, blah, 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 A minor.
I see. They'll be like,
and then everyone
they'll be like swing time, C minor.
Yeah, because they know from that book.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I gotcha.
Fuck,
that explains a lot, actually.
What is it called? Oh my gosh. Which is also why I hated Whiplash, because no one ever did that in Whiplash.
No one ever brought up that. Oh,
brought up the book in Whiplash.
But yeah. Okay, fair enough then. But that was kind of like that movie was maybe for people who didn't know it. Yeah,
I called Whiplash the best.
It is like a sports. It's like one of the best sports movies ever. Yeah,
it's like Harry Potter as well. They call it a jock movie.
Oh yeah, Harry Potter's such a Chad. He's basically the quarterback of his school.
He's Troy.
He is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, wow, we've covered a lot of ground on this episode.
We got through an hour.
Have we got?
Yeah,
gosh.
much.
Well,
With my little beer break.
since nobody has probably made it this far, we can talk about something I feel like we can finish this podcast or this episode on something that is so far removed from what the subject of this podcast is.
Not at all.
What?
Because it marks the transfer. Is that what you're talking about?
I was going to talk about transfer window. I was going to ask you, what is the one signing that you want Liverpool to get by the end of this transfer window?
Well, I
will do Manchester United.
I should do a public service announcement to just state just to talk about the beautiful tenure of one of the Premier League's most legendary players.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Former number 7, probably going to go into the books as the player with the most appearances in the Premier League. I think.
And also like with the most miles, like distance covered on the pitch as well.
Covered. I think there's only Gareth Barry. There's been more, but it's none other than James Milner, who at the ripe age of 37, I think, is moving to Brighton for a 2-year contract.
Blimey.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great player. And honestly, like my favorite player. I love this guy. He's so good.
What do you love about James Milner?
Well, like the thing was, he was always considered boring James Milner.
Yeah.
But actually, his Twitter is fucking hilarious. And I love like his...
Oh, is he low key quite funny then?
Yeah. So
is he kind of like James Blunt? Like everyone thought James Blunt was a really boring dickhead.
Yeah.
But then it turned out he's like actually fucking hilarious and so can cut you down to size.
Yeah. Low key, he's like one of the most flair players in Liverpool, apparently. Like in training, he loves to like do like tricks and stuff. Oh. And he's like one of the biggest jokers.
Oh, for real? Oh, I did not know that. I always thought he kind of looked like a caveman. And so I assumed he was kind of thick. But great player and brilliant captain. Yeah, I'm being facetious. I obviously I'm sure he's he's clearly an intelligent player on the pitch. And so I wish him well in the south of England by the coast.
It's the first time he's lived in the south as well.
I've heard you told me that. And I'm curious what he's being brought to Brighton. Is he being brought as like sort of a role model to the Brighton players? Because Brighton are a pretty young
I'm going to
team.
assume that he's going to do the Lallana role, which is player coach.
Yeah, for sure.
Player coach. But to answer your question, who would I like to have?
Who's your number one target?
Well, it was
not who would you like to have? Who do you think you actually could have a chance of going for and getting this season?
It was Jude Bellingham, but he's gone to Real Madrid.
Yeah, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, but
you guys had that in the palm of your hand.
This is what I'm thinking. Because he's English, he's doing the reverse.
Yeah.
He's going to go to Spain for like 2-3 years. 3 or 4 years.
He's doing what more British players should do, which is playing outside of England.
And then come back for a massive contract. Yeah. So he's probably going to go to Spain, be successful for 2 years, get racially abused in his third, and then come back. Jesus. Seriously, come on.
No, absolutely. No, genuinely. We've talked about this before.
We've talked about this before. But target-wise...
Like, who's on the radar for Liverpool at the moment?
Well,
you got McAllister. For a great deal as well. For 35
or 40 mil. Honestly, I really wanted... I'd love to have Mount or Declan Rice, but it seems like they're going to go to either United or City or
Arsenal. Yeah. I mean... I'm a season ticket holder from West Ham United, and I watched Declan Rice. I've been watching him play.
Okay, wait.
2 years.
How funny is it that they try to make West Ham a fucking like top side in Ted Lasso?
Oh, dude, and it's so that ironic because it's jokes because like obviously when they probably started writing that season, West Ham were like a top 10, top half squad, and then they proceeded to have one of the shittest seasons in recent years.
Well, I guess it's because they like had a fake takeover in the show. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I suppose so. But they tried to act as if they were like sort of a name brand team in the same way that like a Chelsea or a
they tried to Liverpool them because like when they were singing Blowing Bubbles and then the Richmond players were like,
yeah.
I was like, no.
I mean, the real reason they probably did West Ham is because they could actually get access to the stadium. Because the stadium isn't owned by... So I was like, it would make more sense for Chelsea to have been that team, actually. To have been the villainous London squad. Because they are actually rich and have won a lot of stuff in the history.
In the first season, wasn't Chelsea like the main?
I thought it was like,
or was it City?
Was it City? Yeah.
Oh yeah, because
Tart was, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, all three of those, Mount or Declan Rice would be amazing. You just need you want that ace midfield player. But I'd say for United, I think we really just need
a striker.
We just need a striker. Right now we're focusing on Mount or even Caicedo. Caicedo, how do you pronounce his name?
Caicedo, yeah.
Caicedo, which is obviously if we could afford him, fantastic. Don't think we can. But we just need a striker. So I'd love, it's tough because there aren't that many good strikers out there actually.
What's his name?
I mean, Osimhen would be good, but we can't afford him. And also he's actually injured a third of the time.
True.
So,
he's always injured. Yeah. He's injured quite
I'd say Osimhen, but I would love, honestly, I'd love, we just need our own Salah or something like that. Or
see, okay, maybe we can talk about this a little bit, but, I feel so bad for Harry Kane.
Yeah.
I feel really...
Let him go, Levy, you bastard.
He deserves
He's
so
given
much
your team
better.
so much.
Yeah, he deserves so much better, but I think it's a little too late for him now. Unless he moves to Bayern.
Come on, he's only 29 years old.
He's 29? I thought he was 32.
Yeah, he's only 29 years old.
I feel like he should move to Bayern. Get him a few, first,
yeah, get him a taste of
medals.
silverware. But he's never going to be better than he is now, I think.
Would he be a Van Persie for Manchester United?
He could be. I've not always been the biggest proponent of him coming to United just because I feel like we need younger players.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he could be.
I also don't think he's a good enough leader.
Yeah, he's not.
I think he's a shit captain.
Yeah, but we've got Casemiro, we've got Bruno, we've got a lot of other captains in our squad, I think.
But I don't feel like Man United has good leaders. I don't know.
I know people don't like Bruno because they think I know everyone hates Bruno because he's a whiner. He whines, but he's passionate and he's really he's a leader in the dressing room.
I feel like it extends from the top to the bottom.
Sure.
You won't. I guess.
I can see Casemiro. I can see Casemiro.
Casemiro's the only one.
Casemiro's learning English. He's learned English already. Yeah. He's so passionate on the field.
Yeah.
I could see him being a really positive influence.
Don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't like players like Antony or Garnacho and the way they act, but we used to have players like that in Liverpool, and Man City used to have players like that at Man City, and we never won anything until we got rid of those players.
Yeah.
And I feel
like Coutinho and
Coutinho
Torres.
was fine, but we had players like fucking Balotelli and troublemakers.
Yeah.
Or players that
geniuses. Enfant terribles. No, I didn't mean geniuses.
Yeah.
That's meant they're masterful players, but they're like you said, they're troublemakers.
Yeah. And I feel like without a true do you think Garnacho and Antony would do their antics when a fucking super angry James Milner or Van Dijk is on their ass yo, you fucking play like that?
I mean, they've got Ten Hag who's quite a disciplinarian, I think.
But I feel like Casemiro's the only one that can be like that.
Yeah, I think Casemiro's got the only one he's got the experience as well. He's the only one who's actually been part of a winning team in recent memory. I think so. But yeah, I don't know. That's probably not Bruno. You're right. But anyway, that's my answer. We really went into the weeds of football.
We did.
You know how you said there's data you can see when people stop listening? Yeah. I'm really curious to see what percentage drop off after we start talking about
apparently
football.
Now, I just saw it the other day, but on Spotify you can put timestamps.
Oh yeah?
So I've been listening to the Andrew Huberman podcast, which is a great health podcast.
Yeah.
And it was really great because I could skip excuse me. Oh my gosh. Fucking beer.
We're gonna have to edit together all of these burps.
No, I feel like just leaving the entire thing.
Yeah.
Let's see, just raw.
No, I mean, I want to edit them. No, I don't want to edit them out. I mean, I want to compile them all into a separate
fuck, what was I saying?
You're talking about the Andrew Huberman and timestamps.
So yeah, you can skip the intro, you can skip the adverts and go straight into the conversation.
That's good because sometimes they'll put the timestamps in the bottom show notes, but because of ads that are now custom, they won't be accurate, the timestamps. So they'll be like, spoilers end here. And then you go to there and then you end up hearing the end of the spoiler or something like that. Because the, you know how the ad, like I went to Sicily last week, and when I was there, the ads were in Italian. So they have, I think, algorithms that just plug in the ads at moments that they have been either left open for ad space or just they've been able to judge that's a good ad break.
Yeah.
Using sort of artificial intelligence, I guess. But,
I guess it depends on like what player you're listening on. But yeah, like for example, Andrew Huberman uses Spotify ads, I'm going to guess. So it doesn't affect the timestamps. Oh,
I see. Maybe that's the reason to listen to Spotify podcasts. I don't. I'm loyal to my shitty Apple podcast app. Yeah. But I've always used it.
To be fair, Apple podcast app, Spotify podcast app, garbage. They're like proper podcast apps.
Isn't it like
made for
what are the best? What's the best one?
See, I don't know, because like
Acast is meant to be pretty good, right?
No, but Acast isn't like an app to listen to podcasts on. Like think of like your platform to listen to music. There's specific ones just to listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And this is a huge thing that I've seen, like a conversation that people have been having on LinkedIn and stuff. But I'm like, wait, what do you mean people like download specific like a platform just to listen to podcasts?
That's what I know people who download apps because they can
create lists.
They can also one of my friends uses an app because it has the option to edit out all the dead air basically and all the gaps. And he's kind of like you with movies where he's like, he wants to get to the end quicker. So he's like, cause he's all about efficiency. So he likes editing. So it edits out all the gaps and all the ums and ahs so that you just get, but I was like, I actually like my podcast longer and I like pauses.
I like the pause. It sounds more natural for me.
Yeah, for sure.
But like for movies, I just need to put that in there. It's not that I don't like the long gaps. I feel like some movies just push it for too long.
What do you mean by a gap in this case?
It's like the building of tension. Sometimes I feel like, a lot of movies or even TV shows, like there was one episode of The Last of Us. I think it was maybe episode 3 or 4, where for the entire episode, the music was just building tension. And there was no crescendo. And there were parts of it where it was just like maybe 2 to 3 minutes of just intense buildup. And I was like, and like for me musically, I was like, please just
drop the beat.
Just do it. And it didn't happen. Yeah.
No, I get that. It's all about balancing it, I suppose, and having a purpose.
Well, a good balance and a good purpose would be to
end the episode.
All right, and on that note, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you want more of these kinds of episodes where we just shoot the shit, let's shoot the shit.
Shoot the shit.
And
let us know. Please. If you thought this was horrible, though, let us know too. Yeah. And we'll never do this again.
Because this is an hour and 15 minutes. It's kind of like our first few episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bringing it back. But, I
don't even know what we're going to title this episode. We've covered so much shit.
Maybe we'll just call it
Shooting the Shit.
Shooting the Shit. Yeah.
Midsummer Shoot Shit.
Yeah, Midsummer Shoot Shit. Love it. Well, thank you, Ollie, for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Go fuck yourself. No, I'm kidding. But actually, go fuck yourself. Ciao for now. Love y'all. Thank you.